Years of commitment to Guam, Micronesia, and the CNMI. Cars Plus, home of Guam's first and only lifetime powertrain warranty. Visit carsplusguam.com for details. McDonald's of Guam, I'm loving it, and King's Restaurant, serving your local breakfast, lunch, and dinner favorites for over 45 years.
Ahead on Primetime, with an increasing threat against China to the United States, a Senate Armed Services hearing was held today with Guam being part of the discussion. Plus, an auto crash this morning leaves one man dead, marking the island's third traffic-related fatality of the year. And it's a popular spot in Tumon. Peter Santos has the latest on plans to upgrade Matapang Beach Park.
Hafide and good evening, I'm Adriana Cotero. Guam is at the centerpiece of the Department of Defense's strategy in the Indo-Pacific region to combat the increasing threat against China to the United States. As Sabrina Salas-Matanani reports, the strategy is part of DoD's $4.7 billion Pacific Deterrence Initiative, or PDI.
It's a deep water strategic port.
During a Senate Armed Services hearing in the nation's capital today, U.S. Indo-Pacific Command Chief Admiral Philip Davidson testified that as a result of China's buildup of military and cyber capabilities, that the U.S. has to step up its game in the region.
Missile defense is the hardest thing we do. And if I'm the manager of a baseball team, I can have the best defenses in the world, but if I can't score some runs, I can't win the game.
And a major part of winning the game, according to Admiral Davidson, is increasing the military's lethality by introducing the Guam Defense System, or GDS, which is a 360-degree persistent air and missile defense capability.
The structure that's out there right now, the THAAD radar, is not capable of meeting the current trajectory of threats from China.
Admiral Davidson telling the Senate Armed Services Committee that the 360-degree air and missile defense system would be capable of meeting cruise missile threats and ballistic missile threats from the land, sea, and air in the region. It must be delivered in a fashion to protect from the activities they are seeing China can conduct, which is circumnavigation of Guam and the CNMI.
Most importantly, we all have to understand, Guam is U.S. territory. We have 170,000 U.S. citizens living on Guam. Their defense is homeland defense. We have 21,000 U.S. servicemen and women and DoD employees as well, plus their families. It's a deep water strategic port, major fuel stores, munition stores, command and control. It is a major power projection airfield for us in the region.
Admiral Davidson says China was sending a message with a recent propaganda video of Chinese bomber forces attacking Andersen Air Force Base.
Guam is a target today. It needs to be defended, and it needs to be prepared for the threats that will come in the future, because it's clear to me that Guam is not just a place that we believe that we can fight from, as we have for many decades. We are going to have to fight for it.
The Admiral adds Guam is where America's day begins, and we must fight for it given the threats we face in the near term and the foreseeable future.
We have to demonstrate that any ambition that China might have and any threat it might put forth towards Guam would come at cost.
Reporting for Guam's News Network, I'm Sabrina Salas-Matanani.
You may recall it was 2 weeks ago the military announced the award of a $42 million contract to build a Standoff weapons complex on Andersen Air Force Base. According to a media release, the complex would provide an undeniable capability for the 36th Wing and the vested interests of the U.S. Air Force in the Indo-Pacific theater. The work includes construction of a missile maintenance and assembly complex for loading, unloading, transferring, storing, testing, and preparing missiles for operational use. Other news out of D.C., it's making the rounds on social media. A quote from freshman Republican Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene. The Georgia representative reportedly said, quote, "We believe our hard-earned tax dollars should go just for America, not for what China, Russia, the Middle East, Guam, whatever, wherever," unquote. In response, Congressman Michael St. Nicholas said Congresswoman Greene is a new member, and we will be paying a visit to her and delivering delicious Chamorro chip cookies as part of our ongoing outreach to new members to introduce them to our wonderful island of Guam. Earlier this term, the House of Representatives voted to remove Taylor Greene from all of her committee roles in response to incendiary statements, including public support for disproven QAnon conspiracy theories. The Guam Police Department's Highway Patrol was activated early this morning, responding to the island's third fatal crash of the year. KUAM was on scene as GPD and Guam Fire Department medics were extracting a man out of a vehicle that had split in half.
We know full well that when we see something of this magnitude, one or two things is attributed to this, that somebody may have passed as a result of this crash, or somebody seriously injured may pass.
According to Guam Police Department spokesperson Sergeant Paul Tapau, shortly before 6 a.m., a blue Toyota Corolla was heading east on West Santa Monica Avenue near Wettingell Elementary School. When a male driver lost control of the vehicle, ran off the roadway and collided with a concrete wall by the Hall Sharoma football field.
As a result of the crash, a male driver was identified as the fatal, with another male passenger who was listed in critical condition had to be transported to Guam Regional Medical City for treatment and care.
GPD closed the roads from West Santa Monica Avenue to the Northern Public Health Building for about 5 hours this morning. GPD is working to identify the deceased driver and has yet to identify the relation between the two men. Sergeant Tapau wants to remind the community to adhere to traffic laws and speed limits and refrain from impaired and distracted driving.
We just want to bring to the attention that further up the street by Benevente Middle School, there was another crash that involved 5 pedestrians, and the strip of road we consider it to be a dangerous strip because of the surface area, the pavement, and of course, just people not adhering to the speed limit, which I believe is 15 miles per hour because it's a residential area and a school zone area.
This case is ongoing as crash investigators have yet to determine if speed, alcohol, or drugs were factors in the crash.
We are asking the community if anybody may have witnessed the accident before the crash, if anybody may have witnessed the mannerism of the blue Toyota Corolla either traversing or traveling or motoring on West Santa Monica, or we want to say further towards Route 1, that can aid us with this case, to please call our crash investigators to our dispatch at 472-8911.
If you want to run for political office, you'll have to submit the results of a drug test. That's the intent of a bill by Senator Jim Moylan that was heard today by the Government Operations Committee, but also begged the question from one of his colleagues: what about the rest of the GovGuam employees?
Moylan said candidates already must validate other sensitive issues, such as no felony convictions of moral turpitude or criminal sexual conduct. So why not require drug testing?
But we do know that we have a rising drug-related cases on island. So I believe it's important that our electorate get the assurance when seeking our trust, when they go into the voting booths, toward these elected officials having a drug-free lifestyle. Because as elected officials, we know that we play a major role against illegal substances.
Senator Joanne Brown said she had no issues with the bill, other than she believes candidates should also be tested for marijuana use. But her bigger concern is over what she says is an apparent overall lack of government drug testing.
Having been the Director of Public Works for a couple of years, I did experience, Mr. Chair, where I did have bus drivers. And unfortunately, in some cases, only because an accident or an incident happened that required a testing of that situation, that we ended up finding out that we had some bus drivers, unfortunately, again, thank goodness it's a smaller percentage, that were on crystal methamphetamine, that were driving our children around.
Brown contends that there has been an erosion in government responsibility with regard to drug use at a time when drug abuse is rampant within the community at large.
That bothers me more than anything else, especially because it leads to all the other issues and crimes that are happening here in our community. And I think that's the bigger issue that we also need to look at. I don't know if we need to mandate that those drug tests happen in designated positions. But I think we need to set a higher standard. I have no problem being in an elected capacity of taking a drug test. But I think we need to ensure that our public officials, and that includes everyone that gets a paycheck from the people of Guam, also are responsible individuals in this community that are also setting the standard and setting the better example.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Nestor Lecanto.
Speaker Therese Terlahi, who is the chairperson of the Committee on Health, says she still hasn't received a report on an investigation into allegations of impropriety of certain public health nurses that were assigned to the government's quarantine facility. Speaker Terlahi, however, says she was provided an update on the investigation status from Director Art St. Augustine.
It seems to me that, the part I was very satisfied with is they're finally talking to more witnesses, and so that they're getting the full breadth of the real, scope of what the issues were there. And I do think they have taken some actions to address those. They've moved personnel, and they've also, I think, taken some actions against some personnel. But I am happy that it looks like they are aware now of all the allegations, that they are able to address those moving forward at the QFAC facilities. So I think that's very important. And I think that by doing that, they are going to restore the morale of the nurses that have been working, day and night up there.
According to Speaker Terlahi, public health is still waiting for timesheets reviewed by the Department of Administration. As KUAM first reported, certain nurses at the QFAC were accused of sleeping and drinking on the job, not responding to calls from travelers in need of medical assistance. They were also accused of logging additional hours they were not actually working. KUAM News has learned that the nurses in question were moved out of the QFAC and reassigned to a different location. It was announced last week that it would be coming, and 1,300 doses of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine are on Guam. This particular vaccine differs from Pfizer and Moderna in that you only get one shot and you're done. Public Health Chief Medical Officer Dr. Felix Cabrera says residents shouldn't get caught up on the debate and comparison of its efficacy.
What we need to keep clear in our mind is that the one thing that all three of them have in common is that they are virtually 100% effective at preventing hospitalization and or death from COVID. And that's what we care about, right?
The Vaccine and Antiviral Prioritization Policy Committee, or the VAPPC, approved and prioritized the Johnson & Johnson vaccine to be administered to the following groups: the island's homeless, homebound, and registered participants of the adult, daycare, and senior citizen center programs. The VAPPC, meanwhile, also dropped the age of eligibility for the vaccine to 50 years old. This will go into effect on Monday. Effective immediately, though, is the VAPPC's approval to allow the island's prison population to receive the vaccines. There is help available for reduced-hour workers who are still having trouble filing their claims. GDOL is still catching up with the updates needed for those claimants to re-access the system. Labor Director David Del Sola says if you can't get through on the phone, you can visit GDOL's satellite assistance centers at the Jonya and Dededo libraries.
Sit down and they'll fix it for you. They'll actually help you file all those weeks. Because I understand reduced hours can be kind of difficult for people to understand and to put in. And so they can actually get help that way too.
He says once it gets fixed, the claimants will be able to file on their own going forward. Meanwhile, GDOL is also preparing to implement the Biden administration's new PUA program, which will still have to be vetted through the U.S. Labor Department.
And give you all the guidelines and procedures. So just like the last member for the PUA one that expired on the 26th, they didn't pass something until after the program expired. And then it took about a week and a half for labor to come up and write up the procedures.
Once that's finalized, GDOL will work with its vendor to reprogram the system for the Guam program. The governor asked senators for a bill to make a permanent change in the business privilege tax for certain small businesses. On Tuesday, she got two. The first bill was submitted by Republicans Jim Moylan, Tony Ada, and Chris Duenas. It would amend the law and remove the 2-year sunset provision set to expire in December. The other measure was introduced by Democrats Joe St. Augustine, Tina Muñoz Barnes, Jose Terlahi, Clint Rigel, and Republican Mary Torres. Their bill seeks to permanently increase the gross threshold for BPT exemptions for certain small businesses. Both pieces of legislation are aimed at keeping the BPT at 3% for businesses that generate revenue of $500,000 or less a year. And stick around for more news here on Primetime. You're watching KUAM.
It makes myself and it makes my team members very proud to work for an organization that has been on island for many years with its focus on reliability, dependability, and commitment to the communities that they operate in.
Matson's a great corporate citizen to the community.
We all benefit from any sort of environmental commitment we make. One of the ways that we do that is with our Adahi Utano program. There's action behind it, and so action breeds commitment.
With the Kaimana Hila coming to Guam, this brings a new age and modernization to the island.
It's exciting for me because it's a brand new ship and we can carry more freight into the island. It just shows growth for Guam and Micronesia.
Matson would be nothing without its customers, and we hope to continue to serve you for decades to come.
We get it. Living to the fullest is tough during COVID-19. You don't need to do it alone, and everyone needs a hand right now. We are here. Feeling overwhelmed? Call 647-8833 and let's talk. Mangagihem is a project of Guam Behavioral Health and Wellness Center.
Social distancing may be the new norm, but connection will always be our tradition. Through good times and tough times, we remain connected with you. Masks may be the new fashion, but protection will always be our style. You can always count on us to protect the things that matter the most. Sanitizing may be the new routine, but caring will always be our practice. We care about your loved ones and the things you value the most. And as we welcome our new normal, one thing remains certain: we will always be here for you. We're open and ready to serve you. Calvo's Insurance, a legacy of trust.
KUAM News, winner of the 2020 Regional Edward R. Murrow Award for Excellence in Social Media.
Welcome back. If you've been to Matapang Beach Park lately, it's safe to say it could definitely use a bit of a refresh. But GVB President, former Governor Carl Gutierrez says they're planning to do a bit more than that. Here's more.
As we prepare to reopen the doors to tourism, the need to attract our main tourist markets has become a focal point of recovery efforts. And it looks like the folks at the Guam Visitors Bureau have got some pretty exciting plans cooked up for one of the island's beach parks. GVB President, former Governor Carl Gutierrez.
We have the planning already done. We have the rendering done. We want to be able to say, hey, set aside $18 million. It's for our people. They've been pent up. Matapang Beach being upgraded like that is really going to be fantastic, not only for the tourists, but certainly for our people.
Gutierrez says on top of all the amenities the new park will provide to include an area for a beachfront business, there would also be an environmental and safety benefit to the development as well.
And the surfboarders and the paddle boarders, and they can even have a place for them to store their paddle boards and surfboards in that area. Bathrooms will be more than sufficient, barbecue areas, and the safety of that aquifer that's there under the parking lot. We'll mitigate the shrinkage of that and the caving in of that. So the fire department be located there with their jet ski for safety equipment instead of Dedido.
With Matapang Beach Park being a hotspot on the weekends for local families, water sports enthusiasts, and tourists, the renovation would definitely be a welcome addition to the Tumon area. And if you're thinking, what about the zoo?
Maybe we're going to put like a COVID plexiglass to keep the smell away from that. But no, we're looking into that.
For Guam's News Network, I'm Peter Santos.
$210,000 from the Department of Interior has been awarded to the Guam Fire Department for the purchase of 2 advanced life support vehicles. GFD's Emergency Medical Services Bureau responds on average to 12,500 calls annually, often requiring ALS assistance. The past year has seen a rise in emergency calls for ALS services with individuals experiencing COVID-19 symptoms, including difficulty breathing, body weakness, and chest pains. Additional ALS vehicles will also allow GFD more time to disinfect vehicles after use and still provide services, minimizing downtime. The federal funding is part of an over $8.7 million grant under the Office of Insular Affairs Technical Assistance Program, recently awarded to help Guam prepare, prevent, and respond to COVID-19 in the areas of health, safety, and addressing Guam's homeless population. The Department of the Interior, under the Office of Insular Affairs COVID Technical Assistance Program, awarded $5.5 million in federal funds to help the Guam Memorial Hospital and the Department of Public Health and Social Services address COVID-19. The funding will support upgrades and improvements for medical storage and facilities, provide specialized medical equipment for the hospital, and purchase medical transport vehicles and mobile clinics for community outreach. Guam was awarded a total of $12 million under the COVID TAP funds. The Leon Guerrero Tenorio administration plans to use these funds to address the pandemic's effects on the community, as well as the aid in the island's economic recovery. In exactly 1 week, the Legislative Committee on Public Safety will hold an oversight hearing on the Guam Police Department. This is in response to the repeated allegations of misconduct and public corruption by the law enforcement agency that were brought to light in district court extortion and drug-related cases. Committee Chairman Senator Jose Terlahi has passed the torch to his colleague, Vice Chairman Senator Frank Blas Jr., to conduct the oversight due to a conflict of interest. Terlahi's son, former Department of Corrections Deputy Director Joey Terlahi, was named in the federal cases having a role in these allegations, specifically being present at a barbecue with other local law enforcement personnel where a woman was allegedly held hostage and beaten. As reported earlier this month, the Legislative Committee on Justice held an oversight with the Judiciary of Guam, where Senator Jose Terlahi questioned the judicial branch on this particular allegation and if there were any reports. The judiciary, however, stated they are restricted from commenting on any ongoing proceedings presently before the court. The oversight with GPD is scheduled for Wednesday, March 17th at 4 p.m. Appearing for his arraignment hearing this afternoon, 40-year-old Ketra Pacquiao pled not guilty and waived his rights to a speedy trial. He faces multiple counts of criminal sexual conduct charges for allegedly sexually assaulting a 16-year-old blind female with special needs known to him for nearly a decade. The victim first reported the abuse to a teacher in December of last year. However, it wasn't until last month that Child Protective Service workers accompanied the teenager to the precinct, resulting in the arrest of Pacquiao. He is currently being held on a $10,000 cash bail. His next court hearing will be with presiding Judge Alberto Lamarena. A date has yet to be set. Federal drug smuggling offender Eric Vincent Morta Beneventi will serve the remaining of his prison sentence on home detention. Back in 2017, Beneventi was picked up by the feds at the Guam International Airport with 438 grams of meth concealed within the seat cushion of his wheelchair. According to court documents, Beneventi admitted he purchased the meth in the mainland to resell in Guam, knowing he could receive $5,000 per ounce. He pled guilty to possession with intent to deliver more than 50 grams of meth. And in 2019, he was sentenced to 63 months of incarceration with 3 years of supervised release. He was set to be released in July 2023. However, 2 months ago, he filed an emergency motion to reduce sentence due to physical and medical conditions, having an active infection within his body. After hearing oral arguments, the court found extraordinary and compelling reasons to reduce his sentencing to time served with a 5-year supervised release term, of which 29 months will be on home detention. And with regional headlines, here's KSPN 2 News.
Hafa-Day Guam, here are the headlines for CNMI.
CHCC CEO Esther Munoz says starting March 8th, the new age requirement to receive the Pfizer vaccine or Moderna vaccine is now 50 years old.
So we are lowering the age to 50. We're hoping that also to try to get to more 65 and older. And so we are expanding the group, looking at, again, not just essential workers, but also to the essential industries.
And starting at the end of this month, residents of the CNMI will have a third option for the COVID-19 vaccine.
We are also expecting 400 doses of the Johnson & Johnson around end of March. It is a one dose, single dose. We are looking at possibly bringing that to Manamco for now, especially those that are not looking forward to getting 2 doses.
Munoz says the Johnson & Johnson vaccine is 66.3% effective, which is shown in clinical trials according to the CDC. As of March 7th, on all 3 islands of Saipan, Tinian, and Rota, 11,922 people have been vaccinated with dose 1 of the COVID-19 vaccine, and 8,476 people have been vaccinated with dose 1 and 2. Governor Torres says his goal is to have most residents of the Sinai vaccinated by the summer.
Our goal again is to get into that herd community and get them, get all of us vaccinated up at 80-90%, hopefully in the next few months. So if that's the direction that we continue to grow, I think, and I'm very optimistic that by summer we should be up and running on at least our end here in the CNMI on our situation.
For more news, visit saipantv.com. For KSPN2, I'm Ashley McDowell.
Coming up, Dave Delgado has the latest with local sports. Keep it here. You're watching KUAM.
Your community calendar is brought to you by Taco Bell. Whether it's your first meal or your fourth meal, we've got you covered. Taco Bell, live Más.
We've made a lot of breakfasts, and along the way, we noticed something was missing. A warm cinnamon roll for breakfast, or with breakfast. A fluffy blueberry muffin from the drive-thru you're already driving through. A glazed apple fritter, which might find its way into your coffee. These are options every breakfast haver should have, and now they do. Meet the new bakery sweets at McDonald's. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Guam is truly a majestic place with its sheer natural beauty, wealth of beaches, and culturally rich landscape. Unfortunately, Guam has a real problem with unwanted invasive species. Help us in preventing their introduction and spread. The coconut rhinoceros beetle, the little fire ant, the African snail, Siam weed. These are just a few of the numerous invasives on Guam. Follow proper custom procedures when bringing plants and animals into Guam.
Help protect Guam. Tell your family and friends about invasive species.
To report invasive species, call 475-PEST.
What's up, Guam? Dave Delgado here for KUAM Sports. Thanks for watching. Tonight on the show, we're going to hear from Sanchez rugby player Tyler Dagger, who's going to be heading stateside in the fall to play some Division I rugby. Check it out. Simon Sanchez High School senior Tyler Dagger has committed to play rugby at American International College in Springfield, Massachusetts. The Yellow Jackets men's team plays in the East Coast Rugby Conference and is a Division I program.
I felt like I've always had that in me to go above and beyond, but it really hit when, especially my junior year, because I had a couple injuries where I barely played a couple games, and that really hit me. So I know throughout those injuries and not even having a senior year to play, I could take it up a notch and go right to collegiate.
Tyler put in the work during the off season and dropped 80 pounds in preparation for his senior year. COVID hit and reality started to set in. He knew that playing rugby at the collegiate level was possible, so he started to reach out to different colleges.
I was emailing like 10 to 15 a day. I would email East Coast, West Coast, private schools, but at the end of the day, you always got to have that mindset, like you're not done yet, Obviously, I was still hungry. I just kept emailing schools, and one day AIC hit me back, and then we talked, and then I hit it off like that.
Tyler wakes up early and hits the gym 6 days a week, focusing on strength and conditioning. Is excited to be joining teammate Keikoa Tenorio Toves at AIC.
He's like one of my best friends in high school. We've been thinking about playing college ball since freshman year, and the fact that it can actually come into a reality for us since as we're seniors is just truly surreal to me, because like I said, we've always been thinking about this dream since freshman year, and it's coming true, and we have good chemistry, and I'm ready to hit it with him out there.
Tyler currently has a 3.3 GPA and is planning on studying criminal justice.
School is always going to be important to me. Like AIC told me over when I first had my meeting with them, you're a student athlete, so the student part always comes first, and especially to my parents, it's always become prioritize school, and you know, majoring in a big field like criminal justice, I have like a lot of options to choose from, so school is always going to be number one for me.
He says there were people who doubted him, but he's been blessed with the opportunity and will continue to put in the work and not give up. His family was surprised by the offer and happy for his accomplishment.
They were pretty shocked because they thought I was going to stay on island for a couple more years, but you know, with the offer they granted me, I still pay a good amount, but you know, whatever helps, and you know, I just told my family that I gotta go because Guam doesn't have too much for me with like my big mindset. I can't really do much here, but it'll always be home to me. But I need to branch out, you know, and find myself, like, and you know, just see what I can do for in this world. But I knew I wasn't gonna be on Guam forever, so they're happy to hear that I'm going, but at the same time they were shocked. But at the end of the day, they're always gonna be happy about this process, and I'm truly proud.
That's it for sports. We're back right after this.
So long, nacho fries.
Whenever Taco Bell takes them off the menu, he can't escape the cravings. Nacho fries.
Escape your cravings with our nacho fries box. Run to Taco Bell.
MTO Maintenance will now completely sanitize your home, office, or business with state-of-the-art commercial sprayers. For over 30 years, MTO Maintenance has been committed to the health and safety of our customers. And now, more than ever, a clean home, office, carpets, and furniture is a necessity to our island. Give us a call today. Stay healthy and stay safe, Guam.
Call 647-6861 for an appointment. Catch a wave of fish and seafood available throughout the Lenten season at King's Restaurant. The Lent menu has a tsunami of all your favorites like deep-fried parrotfish, fried calamari, and the Lent sampler. All are sure to be a splash hit. It's the Lent menu at King's.
And before we close up the news tonight, our latest round of birthday shout-outs from the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club.
Happy March 10th birthday from Mom and the family. Going out to Shiana Rose Cabrera Guzman. Happy 14th birthday, Shay Shay. I love and miss you so much. And also celebrating birthday number 14 today is Ethan Gaither. Happy birthday, Ethan J, from your family who all says they love you. So, to Ethan and to Shiana, we hope both of you stay safe, have a great day today, because it's your birthday and you're awesome.
Remember, you can be part of the Cold Stone Creamery Birthday Club by registering online on KUAM.com. Please make sure to include with your photo your name and birth date. That's going to do it for us here on Prime Time. Thank you for watching. Have a good night and be safe.
In Full Zoom is